I have noted a number of times the divide that exists between what I shall refer to as practicing Jews, in other words those committed to the halachic system, and non-practicing Jews. At best, those committed to halachic Judaism ranges between 10 to 20% of the Jewish community, which is contrasted to a much larger group of Jews ranging from absolute totally secular, reform progressive, traditional conservative, and left-wing centrist. As of 2020, and certainly in my lifetime, the practicing Jew has aligned itself with one of three broad subgroups. One, the Hasidic, two, the Litvish, and three, the centrist, in that they are not self-defined as Hasidic nor Litvish. If one can move beyond the superficial differences of furry hat versus kippah sruga, what joins each of the three subgroups is the centrality of a religious identity, namely that of halachic Judaism. And from that Judaism, we have expressions of Jewishness, and it is in the area of Jewishness that the three subgroups may locate their respective identity. Yiddish for the Hasidic subgroup, Israel for the right-wing centrist, while differences will exist with respect to food, attitudes towards the secular world, such as movies and television. However, all three subgroups share a common commitment to the fundamentals of Orthodox Judaism. In contrast, the 80% or so non-practicing Jews will focus upon an ethnic identity expressed in Jewishness. That is not to say that there's not an element of Judaism. There is Pesach, there are the Chagim. For some, Jewish education is quite important. For others, there are cultural activities. Holocaust Judaism would be an expression of Jewishness, but without a doubt, there is a tension between the two groups, between the halachic Jew and the non-halachic Jew. Taking a closer look at Orthodox Judaism, we have a broad range of Orthodox Jewish expression, linked very much so to geography. On the one hand, we had Poland and the Hasidic movement, beginning with the Baal Shem Tov, Lithuania, that looked to the Vilna Gaon, and Germany in the late 1800s, spearheaded by the Hirschian school of Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. World War II created further fragmentation, and if you follow the arrows down from the original three centers, our three subgroups mentioned earlier have morphed into approximately 8 subgroups of identity politics. The Lithuanian and German eventually morphed into the modern/centrist brand of American Orthodoxy, while the remaining 6 were branded with the misnomer of being ultra-Orthodox. Terms which are quite unfortunate because the three subgroups have more in common at their very core in terms that they all belong to and are committed to halachic Judaism. Their differences lie primarily in how the respective groups dealt with the changes of the 1800s, namely the emancipation in the 1900s, how they responded to modernity, its broadest sense, ranging from involvement with secular studies all the way through to allowing the values of society as a whole to be brought into the Orthodox halachic home. And on this point, centrist Orthodoxy faced its greatest challenge, namely the feminism of the late 1900s and the move of frum Jewish women out of the home into the workforce, which then also forced a reassessment of their role within the frum Orthodox movement. One of the flashpoints was the Nusach HaTefilah of Shelo Asani Isha. The late 1900s spawned an Orthodox expression of the need for equality between the male and female components of society. We had the JOFA, the Jewish Orthodox Feminist Alliance, founded in 1997, which provided educational services on women's issues with the aim of expanding the spiritual, ritual, intellectual, and political opportunities for women within the framework of halakha. Other flashpoints were the issues of aguna, especially in Eretz Israel, the desire in some cases for Orthodox women to take a more active role in the Bet Knesset, and the right of a woman to function on par with her male counterpart as a leader in her congregation. It was somewhat unfortunate that Jofa aligned themselves with the Open Orthodox, an organization that has not gained acceptance, certainly not in the Hasidic and Litvish communities, but even within the world of centrist Orthodox Judaism. Which brings me to the issue of Shelo Asani Isha. What does a frum Orthodox girl/woman who may view themselves as liberated, yet devoted in their lives to frum Orthodox tradition, how does one deal with a bracha that appears, on the surface at least, to be somewhat misogynist and anti-women?